And what can leaders today learn from what you've learned, and how do you instill some of the lessons in them?
Hmm. That's a loaded question. um, I think I'll touch base on a key thing, a few key points. I feel like first, the dynamic of change within businesses today and within just youth, children across the world, right, changes at a quicker pace than what it has been, let's say, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And that is a reality. I think as a leader, it's often hard to remember that we're often the ones driving the change, or we know about the change months before our people do. But we often forget that when we communicate to them or we're prepping them for the change, we forget the transition we went through. And then we miss those opportunities to connect with them and understand what it's going to be like for them, right? And help them to see the why for the change and why it's happening, what the win can be for them, and how they can participate. So that's one thing I just feel like is really important, is that leaders are
Hmm.
conscious of change and the impact. Change is the reality, but how we communicate it and how we present it to our organization can make a huge difference in our level of respect as a leader, as well as them trusting the organization. A second piece, as you mentioned, like systems for an organization. I walk into many companies that have great, core values on the wall and a mission and a vision, but they're not necessarily lived out. They're not practiced throughout the organization. They're not, leaders aren't leading them, leaders aren't reinforcing them. And so that is often a great framework as the basis for a foundation to help the people
Hmm.
be ready for change, because the core values are real and they know what to expect in regards to communication or to change, because it's lived out and it's communicated and it's presented in a consistent way. And then the third part, once you have those values and mission and vision and it's really lived out, is what's the process? Like, how do we run our meetings? How do we run our business? And making those consistent and clear across the organization really help to have that framework that people know what they can count on. Because in a world of change, to know what you can count on and expect is really key for people.
100% agree with you. Now, it's just an observation on my side. Just on this channel, 2.5 years old. I don't know how many podcasts, I can't count, but many of them, podcast guests came in to talk about leadership. Do you think we have a leadership issue?
Cool. It's I'm spending a large portion of my time right now with the younger generation. And I would say they perceive we have a leadership issue. They don't see, at least within the US, they are leaders from a state, local, political level. They don't really see consistent leadership, transparent leadership. Um, they see attacks versus figuring out what we have in common, right? So I would say, yes, we have some opportunity with the leadership that we are presenting to our younger generation, and they are our next set of leaders. So we have a gap right
So,
now.